My brother stole my research and destroyed my scholarship interview. My parents kicked me out for complaining. 7 years later, they begged me to fix his failure. My brother Jason stole 17 months of my research, submitted it to MIT as his own work. And when I tried to explain this to the scholarship committee during my video interview, my parents physically ripped the laptop away from me, called me a jealous liar on camera, and kicked me out of the house 72 hours before my high school graduation. I was 17 years old. I'm going to tell you exactly how it happened because the details matter, and because for 7 years I've had people tell me I must be exaggerating or misremembering, or that families don't just do that. Yes, they absolutely do. Mine did. On May 14th, 2016, with witnesses, documentation, and my entire future in a duffel bag on the front lawn. I need you to understand the setup first. Jason is 3 years older than me. From the time we were kids, he was the golden child, not because he was particularly talented or smart or kind, but because he was charismatic. He could walk into a room and make people like him instantly. He played varsity baseball. He had a million friends. Teachers loved him even though his grades were aggressively mediocre. Mom and Dad worshipped him. There's no other word for it. I was the opposite. Quiet, weird, obsessed with building things. I spent my entire childhood in the garage taking apart electronics and putting them back together. By 8th grade, I was designing basic circuit boards. By sophomore year, I was entering engineering competitions. I was good at exactly one thing, really, really good, and my parents treated it like a mildly embarrassing hobby. When Jason barely graduated high school with a 2.8 GPA, Dad threw him a massive party and bought him a truck. When I won the regional engineering fair and qualified for nationals, Mom said, "That's nice, honey," and asked if I'd seen Jason's latest Instagram post about his baseball tournament. I'm not saying this for sympathy. I'm saying it so you understand the ecosystem. Jason went to community college for 2 years, partied constantly, and flunked out. He moved back home in January 2015. I was a junior in high school. He had no job, no plan, and spent most days playing video games in his room or hanging out with his high school friends who were also going nowhere. I was in the middle of the most important project of my life. Since freshman year, I'd been working on an automated water purification system designed for disaster relief situations. The idea was that you could deploy it in areas with contaminated water supplies, after hurricanes, earthquakes, industrial accidents, and it would use solar power and a proprietary filtration system I designed to produce clean drinking water without requiring external power or replacement filters for up to 6 months. I know that sounds ambitious for a high school kid. It was. I'd spent 17 months on it. I built 4 different prototypes. I failed constantly. I burned out 3 different pump systems before I figured out the pressure regulation. I spent my own money from a part-time job at Radio Shack buying components. I taught myself CAD software and 3D modeling. I filled 11 notebooks with calculations and schematics. I kept everything in the garage. Mom and Dad barely came out there. It was my space. By November of my junior year, I had a working prototype. It wasn't perfect, but it worked. I could pour swamp water in one end and get drinkable water out the other. I entered it in every competition I could find. I won the state science fair in March 2016, first place. The judges went insane for it. One of them was a professor from Georgia Tech, and she told me directly, "This is college-level work. You need to document everything and submit this for scholarship applications. Schools will fight over you." That's when I started thinking about MIT. MIT had, still has, a full-ride scholarship program for students demonstrating exceptional innovation in engineering. The application required a detailed technical portfolio, academic transcripts, letters of recommendation, and a video interview with the selection committee. I worked on that application like my life depended on it, because it did. We didn't have money. Dad managed a hardware store. Mom was a part-time administrative assistant. Jason's 2 years of community college had drained their savings. Nobody had ever said it out loud, but I knew if I wanted to go to college, I needed a full scholarship. There was no other option. I submitted my application on April 1st, 2016. On April 18th, I got an email. I'd been selected for a video interview. There were 46 finalists nationwide. The interviews would be conducted over 2 weeks in early May. Mine was scheduled for May 11th at 4 p.m. I printed the email and showed my parents at dinner. Dad barely looked up. "That's great, bud." Mom smiled. MIT is in Boston, right? That's so far away. Jason was scrolling on his phone. He didn't say anything. I went back to the garage and kept working. I had 2 weeks to prepare. I needed to be able to explain every single aspect of my system, the mechanics, the chemistry, the cost analysis, the real-world applications, everything. Here's what I didn't know. Jason had been coming into the garage when I wasn't home. I found out later, much later, that he'd been taking photos of my prototypes, my notebooks, my CAD files on my laptop. He'd been doing this for weeks, maybe months. I never locked anything because why would I? It was my house, my family. On April 29th, Jason announced at dinner that he was getting serious about going back to college. He'd been looking at engineering programs. He wanted to do something meaningful with his life. Mom literally cried. She got up and hugged him and said she was so proud of him for turning things around. Dad said they'd help him with applications however they could. I should have known something was wrong right then. Jason had never shown even a flicker of interest in engineering. He'd taken basic physics in high school and got a D, but I was too focused on my own interview prep to think about it. May 11th, 2016. The interview was scheduled for 4 p.m. I'd taken the day off school. I'd set up my laptop in the living room where the lighting was best. I'd printed out backup copies of all my documentation. I was wearing a button-down shirt Mom had ironed for me, one of the only times she'd actively helped with anything related to this. At 3:45 p.m., I was doing final mic checks when Jason came downstairs. He looked nervous, sweaty. He kept glancing at the laptop. "Big day," he said. Yeah, I was too anxious to have a real conversation. "That water filter thing is pretty cool." "Thanks. You think they'll actually give you the scholarship?" "I don't know, I hope so." He nodded, stood there for another minute, then went back upstairs. At 3:58 p.m., I logged into the video call. My heart was trying to break through my ribcage. At 4:00 p.m. exactly, 3 people appeared on screen. 2 professors from MIT's engineering department and 1 administrator from the scholarship program. They introduced themselves. I introduced myself. They had my portfolio in front of them. Professor Chen, I remember her name perfectly, started the questioning. "Your water purification system is impressive work. Walk us through the filtration process." I started explaining. The mechanical pre-filter, the activated carbon layer, the UV sterilization component, the solar power integration. I'd practiced this 100 times. I knew it cold. About 4 minutes in, Professor Chen stopped me. "I want to clarify something," she said. "When did you begin development on this project?" "January 2015, I said. "Freshman year, 2nd semester." She exchanged a look with the other professor. "And you've been working on it continuously since then?" "Yes, 17 months total." Another look. The administrator was frowning at something off-screen. "Can you explain the differences between your submission and another application we received?" My stomach dropped. Another application. We received a very similar project proposal from another applicant. Same core concept, similar technical specifications. The applications were submitted 2 weeks apart. I didn't understand. "I don't know what you mean. This is my project. I designed everything." The other applicant's submission included detailed CAD files, prototype photos, and technical documentation that appear nearly identical to yours. "That's impossible. I'm the only person who's worked on this." The other applicant claims he began this project in January 2015 and has been developing it independently. The room was spinning. Who's the other applicant? Professor Chen looked at her notes. Jason Whitmore. I actually couldn't breathe for a second. "That's my brother." Her expression changed. "Your brother?" He couldn't have. I designed this. Everything, all of it. He doesn't know anything about engineering. He submitted a very comprehensive portfolio. Because it's MY portfolio, he must have copied my files. That's when I heard footsteps on the stairs. Jason came down, then Mom, then Dad. I didn't even see them come in. I was trying to explain to the committee that my brother had stolen my work, that he'd never shown any interest in engineering, that this was insane. Mom's voice cut through everything. "What's going on?" I turned. All three of them were standing behind me, staring at the laptop screen. Jason applied for the same scholarship, I said, using my project. Jason's face went red. That's not true. You submitted my work. It's not your work. We worked on it together. I actually laughed. It was such an insane lie. You've never helped me with anything. You don't even know how the filtration system works. I know exactly how it works. I helped you design the pump assembly. You've never even been in the garage. Mom stepped forward. Boys. Professor Chen interrupted. I'm sorry, but we need to understand what's happening. Are you claiming your brother stole your scholarship application? Yes, he copied my files and submitted them as his own work. Jason exploded. This is exactly what he does. He can't handle that I'm finally trying to do something with my life, so he's trying to sabotage me. I'm not sabotaging anything. You stole from me. Dad's voice was quiet and sharp. Lower your voice. Did you hear what I said? He submitted my project. We heard you, Dad said, and you need to stop lying. I turned to stare at him. What? Jason showed us his work weeks ago. He's been working on this project for over a year. My brain couldn't process this. No, he hasn't. He has notebooks, documentation. He explained the whole system to us. Those are MY notebooks. Mom was shaking her head. Honey, I know you're upset that Jason is getting his life together. I'm not upset he stole MY work. Stop yelling, Dad said. On the laptop screen, the three committee members were watching this unfold in real time. I could see the administrator taking notes. I tried to turn back to them to explain, but Mom physically turned the laptop toward her. I apologize for this disruption, she said to the committee. There's been a misunderstanding. My son is under a lot of stress. There's no misunderstanding, I was shouting now. Jason stole my research. Ask him anything about the technical specs. He won't be able to answer. Professor Chen's voice came through the speakers. Perhaps we should reschedule this interview. No, I reached for the laptop. Dad grabbed my arm hard. That's enough. Let go of me. Jason was talking now, his voice shaking like he was the victim. I can't believe you're doing this. I finally try to make something of myself and you can't stand it. You stole from me. Dad pulled me away from the laptop. Mom was talking to the committee, apologizing, saying something about sibling rivalry and mental health struggles. I was trying to break free, trying to get back to the screen. The administrator's voice. We'll need to investigate this matter further before proceeding with either application. Then Mom closed the laptop. The screen went black. I was shaking. What did you just do? We're done, Dad said. Go to your room. I'm not a child, they needed to hear. Your room's now. I looked at Mom. She wouldn't meet my eyes. I looked at Jason. He was staring at the floor, but I could see it, the smallest hint of a smile. I went upstairs. I sat on my bed. I waited for someone to come explain that this was a misunderstanding, that they'd sorted out, that they believed me. Nobody came. At dinner, they didn't call me down. I heard them eating, talking quietly, laughing at one point. At 9 p.m., Dad came to my room. Pack your things, he said. You need to leave. I thought I'd misheard. What? You embarrassed this family today. You tried to sabotage your brother's future because you're jealous. We're not going to tolerate it. I'm not jealous he stole. Enough, Dad's voice was flat. You have until Saturday to get out. It's Wednesday. Then you have 3 days. Where am I supposed to go? That's not my problem anymore. He left, closed the door behind him. I sat there for probably an hour, waiting for this to make sense. It didn't. I didn't go to school Thursday or Friday. I stayed in my room trying to figure out what to do. I called my guidance counselor and tried to explain what happened. She said she'd look into it, but there wasn't much she could do about a college scholarship dispute. I called MIT directly, left a voicemail with the admissions office. Nobody called back. Friday night, Mom knocked on my door. She came in without waiting for an answer. Your father and I talked, she said. We think it's best if you take some time away from the family, get some perspective. Perspective on what? Jason stealing my work. He didn't steal anything. You need to accept that. How can you possibly believe that? She sighed. You've always had a hard time when Jason succeeds at things, ever since you were little. This was revisionist history, so extreme I couldn't even respond. We love you, she continued, but we can't have this kind of toxicity in the house. Jason is finally getting his life on track. We need to support him. By throwing me out? You're almost 18. Plenty of kids your age are independent. I'm 17, for another 4 months. Then you'll figure it out for 4 months. She left. Saturday morning, May 14th, 2016, Dad put all my stuff on the front lawn, not even in boxes, just dumped it. Clothes, books, my laptop, everything. I loaded what I could into a duffel bag. I had $42 in my wallet. I had no car. No phone plan. It was on the family account, and Dad had already canceled it. I walked to the garage. My prototypes were gone, all 4 versions of the water purifier, my notebooks, my tools, everything cleaned out. I stood in that empty garage for probably 10 minutes. Then I picked up my duffel bag and I left. I didn't go to graduation. I found out later that Jason went, that Mom and Dad cheered when he walked across the stage even though he'd graduated 3 years earlier and was just there to watch. They posted photos on Facebook. Big smiles, happy family. I wasn't in any of them. I'm going to speed through the next part because it was 7 years of grinding poverty and rage and slowly rebuilding a life from absolute zero. And if I go into detail, I'll end up writing a novel. I slept on couches for 3 months. Friends from school mostly, until their parents got weird about it. I worked whatever jobs I could get without a high school diploma, dishwashing, warehouse work, overnight gas station shifts. I got my GED in August. Enrolled in community college in January 2017 using a Pell Grant and student loans. Kept working full-time. Lived in a basement apartment that cost $400 a month and had black mold in the bathroom. I studied mechanical engineering. Got perfect grades because I had literally nothing else in my life except work and school. Transferred to Georgia State after 2 years. The professor who judged the state science fair remembered me. She wrote me a recommendation letter that apparently made the admissions committee cry. I graduated in May 2020, right in the middle of COVID, with a 3.97 GPA and job offers from 3 different engineering firms. I took the one in Atlanta, started at $68,000, kept my head down, did good work, got promoted twice. By 2023, I was a senior mechanical engineer making $94,000 a year. I had my own apartment, a car, savings, a life. I had 0 contact with my family for all 7 years. I blocked them on everything, changed my number, moved 3 times without telling anyone from my old life where I was going. I didn't want revenge, I didn't want closure, I wanted them to not exist. It worked fine until November 2023. I got a LinkedIn message from my cousin Rachel. We'd been close as kids, but I hadn't spoken to her since I left. The message said, I know you probably don't want to hear from me, but I thought you should know, Jason's in trouble. It's bad. Your parents are freaking out. I stared at that message for 2 days before responding. Not my problem. She wrote back immediately. I figured you'd say that, but they're asking about you. I think they might try to contact you. They can't. I'm not listed anywhere. Your mom hired someone to find you. A private investigator or something, just warning you. I should have blocked Rachel right then. Instead, I asked, what kind of trouble? He's being sued by his employer. Something about falsifying credentials and project fraud. He might go to jail. I felt nothing, or I thought I felt nothing. Maybe I felt something. I didn't respond. 3 days later, I got a call from an unknown number. I never answer unknown numbers, but something made me pick up. Hello. Hi, baby, it's Mom. I hung up. She called back 16 times. I didn't answer. Then she texted from a different number. Please, your brother needs help. We all need to talk. I blocked that number too. The next day, Dad showed up at my office. I don't know how he found out where I worked. The pie, probably. He waited in the lobby until I came back from lunch and then he just stood up. We need to talk, he said. I walked past him to the elevator. He followed. Your brother is in serious trouble. I pressed the button for my floor. Good. Don't be like that. The elevator doors opened. I got in. He got in with me. He made a mistake, Dad said. He needs your help. Absolutely not. You're the only one who can fix this. I laughed, actually laughed out loud. That's incredible. I know you're angry. I'm not angry, I'm nothing. You don't exist to me. The elevator reached my floor. I got out. He followed me to my desk. My manager noticed, started walking over. You need to leave, I told Dad. Jason submitted your project to MIT 7 years ago, Dad said, all in a rush. We knew. He got the scholarship. He went to MIT. He graduated. He got a job at a defense contractor. But now they're auditing his work and they're saying he doesn't actually understand the systems he claims to have designed and they think he lied on his application. And if they prove it, he'll lose everything and face federal fraud charges. I stared at him. My manager arrived. Is everything okay here? This man was just leaving, I said. Dad pulled an envelope from his jacket, set it on my desk. That's the documentation, the lawsuit details, everything. We need you to say you worked on the MIT project together, that it was collaborative. If you testify that you both contributed, it proves he didn't commit fraud. Are you out of your mind? Please, he's your brother. He stole my entire future. You kicked me out for telling the truth, and now you want me to commit perjury to save him. We made mistakes, we know that, but this is his life. It was my life too, you didn't care then. My manager interrupted. Sir, I need you to leave the building. Dad looked at me for a long moment. He looked old, tired, I didn't care. Your mother is devastated, he said quietly. Good, I said. Security escorted him out. I threw the envelope away without opening it. That should have been the end of it. I should have gotten a restraining order or something, but I was stupid. I was curious. That night I dug the envelope out of my trash can, and I read everything. Jason had gotten the MIT scholarship. Full ride. He'd lasted 1 semester before his grades tanked. Turned out he actually couldn't do college-level engineering when he didn't have my work to steal. He'd switched majors twice, finally graduated with a degree in engineering management, which is what people do when they can't handle real engineering. He'd gotten hired at Lockheed Martin in 2021, working on defense contracts. He'd apparently talked a good game in interviews, showed them the water purification project, impressed them with his innovative approach to disaster relief engineering. For 2 years he'd coasted, managed timelines, coordinated between teams, didn't actually design anything. Then he got promoted to lead engineer on a project developing portable power systems for field operations, military applications. He had to produce actual technical designs. He couldn't. He'd tried to outsource the work, claim credit for other people's contributions, the usual stuff mediocre people do. But these were federal defense contracts. Everything was scrutinized. Someone audited his original MIT application, compared it to his actual technical capabilities, started asking questions. Now Lockheed was accusing him of credential fraud. MIT was investigating whether to revoke his degree. The Department of Defense was involved because he'd had security clearance based on falsified qualifications. If convicted, he was looking at up to 5 years in federal prison and a $250,000 fine. The documents included a letter from a lawyer, Mom and Dad's lawyer, outlining a legal strategy that involved me providing testimony that Jason and I had collaborated on the original MIT project, that there had been a misunderstanding 7 years ago, and that Jason's work was legitimate. There was a personal letter from Mom, handwritten. Please help your brother. I know we failed you 7 years ago. I know you have every right to hate us. But Jason has a wife now, a baby on the way. If he goes to prison, that child will grow up without a father. Please, for the sake of your niece or nephew, we'll do anything. I read that letter 5 times. Then I called Rachel. Did you know, I asked, when you messaged me, did you know what they wanted? I knew Jason was in trouble. I didn't know they'd ask you to lie for him. He has a kid on the way. Yeah, his wife is 7 months pregnant. What's she like? She's nice. I only met her twice. She's a kindergarten teacher. Does she know what he did to me? I don't think she knows you exist. That hit different than I expected. I couldn't sleep that night. I kept thinking about a kid growing up with Jason as a father. A kid who might turn out like me, good at something, working hard, proud of what they built, and having Jason steal from them or minimize them or kick them out when they became inconvenient. Or I thought about the alternative, Jason going to prison, the kid growing up with the story of their dad, the criminal, mom and dad raising another kid with their poison. I didn't owe any of them anything, I knew that. But I couldn't stop thinking about it. A week later, I called the lawyer whose name was on the letterhead. "This is Marcus Whitmore," I said, "Jason's brother." "Oh, thank God," he said. "Your parents have been desperately trying to reach you." "I'm not testifying." Silence. "But I'll do something else," I said. "I'll provide a detailed technical report documenting every aspect of the original water purification project, with timestamps, photos, and documentation proving I designed it alone. I'll include a statement that Jason had no involvement in the engineering work. I'll make it impossible for anyone to claim he designed those systems. That would destroy his defense." "I know. You'd be sending your brother to prison." "He did that himself. I'm just declining to lie about it." The lawyer tried to argue. I hung up. 2 hours later, Mom called from another new number. I answered. "How can you do this to your brother?" She was crying. "The same way he did it to me. He made a mistake, he was young. So was I. We'll lose everything. The legal fees are bankrupting us if he goes to prison. You should have thought about that before you threw me away to protect him. We made a mistake." "Yeah, you did, and you're still making it. You're still choosing him." "We're not choosing anyone. We're trying to save our son." "You have 2 sons. You threw one away. The other one is a fraud. This is what you built." She was full-on sobbing now. "Please, I'm begging you, please. You kicked me out when I was 17. I had $42. You took my phone. You stole my prototypes. You didn't care if I lived or died as long as Jason looked good. Now you want me to commit a federal crime to save him. We'll make it right, whatever you want. I want 7 years of my life back. I want the scholarship I earned. I want the future you stole. Can you give me that?" "We can't change the past." "Then we have nothing to talk about." I hung up. She kept calling. Dad called. Jason called. I blocked all of them. Then Jason's wife called. I don't know how she got my number. I answered because I didn't recognize it. "Is this Marcus?" "Who's this?" "I'm Sarah, Jason's wife." I almost hung up. "What do you want?" "I wanted to talk to you about what happened." "There's nothing to talk about. Jason told me everything." I laughed. "I doubt that." "He told me he took credit for your work, that he lied to get into MIT, that your parents chose him over you and you left." That shut me up. "I'm not calling to ask you to help him," she said. "I know you have no reason to. I just wanted to say I'm sorry for what he did, for what your family did." "You didn't do anything." "I married him. I'm having his baby. I feel like I should have known what kind of person he is." "Did he tell you why he finally confessed?" "Because he's facing federal charges." "Right, not because he felt guilty, because he got caught." She was quiet for a moment. "I know." "So why are you calling?" "Because I wanted you to know that not everyone in this family thinks what happened to you was okay. And because I wanted to ask, not for Jason, but for me, what kind of person did you become after all this?" The question surprised me. "What?" "Jason said you were 17 when they kicked you out. You had nothing. And now you're a senior engineer making 6 figures. How did you do that?" I didn't know what to say. "I'm asking," she continued, "because I need to know if it's possible to build a good life after everything falls apart. Because I think my life is about to fall apart." We talked for an hour. I told her everything, the whole 7 years. She told me about Jason, how he was charming and fun but also deeply insecure, how he'd always talked about the MIT project like it was his greatest achievement, how he'd never mentioned having a brother until the lawsuit started. "Are you going to leave him?" I asked. "I don't know. I'm 7 months pregnant. I have no family nearby. I teach kindergarten. I make $38,000 a year. If Jason goes to prison, I don't know how I'll survive." "That's not your fault." "It's not yours either, what he did to you." We sat with that for a moment. "I can't lie for him," I said finally. "I won't." I understand. But if you need help, after. If you need a reference for a better job, or if you need someone to watch the baby while you work, or if you just need someone to talk to who understands how Jason ruins things, you can call me. She started crying. Why would you help me? Because you're not him, and because that kid deserves at least one functional adult in their life. She thanked me. We hung up. I didn't hear anything for 2 months. Then in February 2024, I got a notification. Someone had served me with a subpoena. Jason's defense team was compelling me to testify at his hearing. I hired my own lawyer. We fought it. The judge ruled I had to appear but couldn't be forced to lie under oath. The hearing was March 15, 2024, Federal Courthouse in Boston. I flew up the night before, didn't tell anyone I was coming. The courtroom was small. Jason sat at the defense table in a suit that probably cost more than I'd spent on food my entire first year after getting kicked out. Mom and Dad sat in the gallery behind him. Mom saw me come in and her face just crumpled. I sat on the opposite side, as far away as possible. Jason's lawyer tried to establish that we'd worked together on the project. I said no. He showed photos of prototypes and asked if I recognized them. I said yes, I built them. He asked if Jason had contributed. I said no. He showed the notebooks. Isn't this your brother's handwriting in these margins? No, it's mine, all of it. You're saying your brother had no involvement in this project whatsoever? Correct. Even though he submitted it to MIT and was awarded a full scholarship. He submitted my work. I don't know how he got the scholarship. That's between him and MIT. The prosecutor asked me to explain the technical details of the water purification system. I did, all of it, 20 minutes of detailed engineering specifications. Then they asked Jason the same questions. He couldn't answer. He stumbled through basic concepts, got the pump mechanics completely wrong, couldn't explain the UV sterilization process. It was brutal. The defense tried to argue that 7 years had passed, that Jason had moved on to other projects and forgotten details. The prosecutor showed evidence that Jason had listed the water purification system as his signature achievement on every job application and performance review for the past 7 years. They showed emails where Jason had described his design process to colleagues, using details lifted directly from my notebooks. It took the arbitration panel 3 hours to reach a decision. Jason had falsified his credentials. Lockheed Martin terminated his employment immediately. MIT opened a formal investigation into his degree. The DOD referred the case for criminal prosecution. Mom and Dad were sobbing in the gallery. Jason sat there staring at the table. I felt nothing, or everything, I couldn't tell. I left before anyone could talk to me. I was at the airport when Sarah called. I saw the news, she said. Are you okay? I don't know. I left him this morning. I'm staying with a friend in New Hampshire. Good. I'm scared. You'll figure it out. You're tougher than you think. Will you really help, like you said? Yes, I will. She had the baby in April. A girl named her Emma. Sarah moved to Atlanta in June. I helped her find an apartment and connected her with better-paying teaching positions. I'm not playing dad or anything weird like that. I just show up sometimes to watch Emma so Sarah can sleep or go to the grocery store alone or have 5 minutes of peace. Emma's 9 months old now. She has no idea who I am yet. I'm just some guy who makes funny faces and occasionally brings dinosaur toys. Jason took a plea deal. 18 months in federal prison, $75,000 fine, permanent ban from working on government contracts. He'll be out next year. Mom and Dad sent me a letter last month. Handwritten, 8 pages. They're sorry, they were wrong. They destroyed our family trying to protect Jason from his own failures. They understand if I never forgive them. They just wanted me to know they think about me every day. The letter included a check for $45,000. This is our estimate of what we spent on Jason's education and legal fees that should have gone to supporting you. It's not enough. It's not close to enough, but it's what we can afford. I haven't cashed it. It's sitting on my desk. I don't know what to do with it. Part of me wants to tear it up and mail it back in pieces. Part of me wants to donate it to a scholarship fund for kids aging out of foster care. Part of me thinks I should just take it because I earned it 7 years ago in that garage, and they stole it from me. I don't know if I'll ever forgive them. I don't think I will. But sometimes I hold Emma, and I think about how none of this is her fault. How she's starting from zero just like I did, except she's got a mom who's trying and an uncle who knows what it's like to rebuild from nothing. Maybe that's enough. I don't talk to Jason. I don't plan to. When he gets out of prison, he'll still be the same person who stole my future and let me take the fall. But Sarah is good. Emma is perfect. And I have a life I built myself with nobody's help from $42 and a duffel bag. They can't take that away from me. Sometimes I drive past my old high school, past the house where I grew up, the garage where I built something that should have changed my life. I don't feel angry anymore. I don't feel sad. I just feel gone. And honestly, that's the best revenge I could have asked for. They wanted me to disappear. I did. I became someone they can never reach, never touch, never hurt again. I'm not their son anymore. I'm not Jason's brother. I'm just me, and that's more than enough.